All right, so let's listen to this. Micah Parsons, the fan favorited Bengals fan here, as he always loves talking good about Joe Burrow. Appreciate Micah Parsons for that reason. He talks about why Shemar Stewart is an amazing draft pick. Not just good, but we're talking amazing. Let's just go ahead and listen up to
Thing that pops off to me, this guy's violent. I mean, you put on the tape, he's violent. He may not finish, but I will say his get off, everything up to that point is 110 miles per hour. He plays faster than his 40. I don't really look at, the sack numbers, but the size. He's a every down defensive end. I think somewhere in his career, he'll even move in the inside and rush a little bit there, man. I think that's how good and violent he is. This was a crucial piece after losing Sam Hubbard to retirement. And I don't get tripped up about production because we've seen the same thing with Odafe Owe, Daniel Hunter. College stats really are deceiving. I mean, I never even had more than 5.5 sacks out of college.
So, let's start off right away. So, this is what we've heard so far about Shemar Stewart, is he has a high motor. He's very violent, as in he gets to the point of attack very quickly. He finds the ball, he seeks out the ball, and he gets to it real quickly. Obviously, listen, at the end of the day, we're going to have to develop him. And no matter how good or bad he is in college, we're going to have to develop him in the NFL. And we did get a new defensive coordinator. We got a new defensive line coach and a linebacker coach for this said reason, to work on Shemar Stewart and work on players like him, right? I will agree with Micah. I think he's going to be better than Sam Hubbard. And, Sam Hubbard over the last couple years due to injury, he just wasn't the same Sam Hubbard, and his production went down. Now, I also do understand the idea of sack totals in college isn't always a factor to go off of, but it's your first chance to really look at a player and see the production that you might be able to get in the NFL. So while, yes, you're like, well, yeah, listen, this guy got 17.5 sacks in college. That doesn't mean anything in the NFL. That was college against kids. That's against, teenagers and against kids that just joined football potentially. We're not talking about grown men. I think Ray Lewis said it best when, these kids get to the NFL from college. They're no longer going against kids. They're going against grown men. We're talking about 30, 32-year-old men who, have been in this league for 12 years, and you got a kid straight out of college who's 21 years old, and now they're going against a very, very tough person. You're not going against an 18-year-old anymore. You're going against a 32-year-old man now. And you're going to get smashed in the mouth. You're going to get thrown around, right? So you got to be ready for that. So I do understand that, college isn't always the factor. But it's definitely a glimpse into how good this player might be. Again, I think the best way to put it is this guy's a project. I think that's the best way to put it. Because you're not saying that this guy is, again, like I've talked about this many times when it comes to my mock drafts, and mock drafts I've covered on the channel. This guy was rumored to be pick 11. There was mock drafts out there where this guy was going to the 49ers at 11. This guy was also mock drafts out there where he was going 25 to the Packers. To the Texans, 25 to the Texans. There was mock drafts out there where he was going second round, mid-second round. So it was all over the place, right? And again, I think this is, because he's a project. Different people value him in different ways, where you take someone like Abdul Carter, and I think everyone, can sit here and say, okay, Abdul Carter is a top 5 guy. You ask any analyst, right, any expert, they're going to tell you, top 5, that's the best of the best. You're not going to get, well, Abdul Carter's a top 10. Well, Abdul Carter's a top 15. You're going to get, he's a top 5, right? And I think the same concept applies to other players in this draft we talked about before. And actually, let me pull up my list real fast so we can go through these players. You ask most people, right, most analysts, where is Walter Nolan going to go? Walter Nolan, most mock drafts, top 15. Top 15. Guaranteed. You didn't really see many mock drafts where he was a second-round pick. You didn't see any, actually. Second-round pick. You maybe saw a couple where he slid a little bit. But that was mainly because of other players coming up and getting drafted. But he's top 15. Starks, I think unilaterally people said he's a first-round pick. Mike Green, he's still on the board. So obviously, did play at Marshall. But again, most people said he was probably going to be a top 25 pick. Jahad Campbell, he ends up going to the Eagles here. First-round pick. Derek Harmon, that was kind of another guy like with Shemar Stewart where he was kind of ups and downs like all over the place. Jalen Walker, unilaterally, he was a top 15 pick. He ends up going right one pick before us to 2 picks before us. So again, it always happens. Tyler Booker, he was arguably considered a late first, early second. He goes to the Cowboys. So again, it's one of those situations where I feel like people are pissed off or upset because it's a project, right? And until you see the results, I think most Bengals fans are going to be upset. Because everything is just hearsay and what you're telling me about this guy until I get to see what this guy is, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. I appreciate Micah Parsons for giving his, point of view. But I think there's a situation here where we're going to be very, very skeptical about this until it ends up working out. And I think rightfully so. We have this front office, and I trash this front office all the time because I think it's rightfully so to trash them. They're one fire away from a Happy Meal. They don't run this office correctly. They run this office like a Chuck E. Cheese, and half the employees are like dropouts at a high school and, maybe on meth. I don't know. I that's a joke. That's an absolute joke, by the way. That's not in any way serious. That's a complete joke. Want to put that out there. My point is, they run it like a quack house. And the problem with that is there is no trust from the Bengals community, right, from Bengals fans, toward this front office because they didn't deserve the trust. They didn't earn the trust. They haven't shown us that we can trust them. And why would you trust someone who hasn't shown you that you can trust them? And I think that's really what this comes down to. This is a pick in Shemar Stewart where it's kind of like the front office saying, hey, guys, trust me. I got this. And we're sitting here like, bro, your track record is awful. Why are we trusting you? Half of us think we can run this organization better. And that's the problem. Is this pick is a, trust me, bro, I got this. And, your friend says that when he's 17 beers deep and is about to run into a lion's den. And you're like, no, we don't trust this. Your track record is not good. That's kind of how I feel about this pick. But again, who knows? Maybe little Timmy goes in there and he defeats the lion. And it's like David and Goliath. Maybe he goes in there and he becomes Miles Murphy. Who knows? That's the reason why I think we're all upset about this pick. Who they, guys? Who cares?